Okay, wow. You've sent over quite the stack of sources this time. It really feels like the AI world is just constantly accelerating. Hard to keep up.
It really is. Looking through these, a few big themes jump out, don't they? You've got Anthropic and OpenAI pushing hard, especially on AI research tools and integration into daily workflows.
Right. And then there's that interesting bit about Google and OpenAI both adopting Anthropic's protocol, MCP.
Exactly, the model context protocol. That could be really significant. Plus, all the usual background noise, model updates, reactions, wider industry news.
Okay, so for everyone listening, our mission here is to cut through that noise. We're going to try and pull out the really important stuff from these updates, explain why it matters, hopefully without getting too bogged down in the super technical jargon.
Feels like a plan.
So where do we start? Maybe with Anthropic. They seem to have had a busy couple of weeks.
Good place to begin. Yeah, Anthropic rolled out a new research tool for Claude, and it looks like a pretty serious upgrade in how AI can investigate things.
How so? What's different about it?
Well, instead of just doing one search when you give it a query, it actually kicks off multiple searches. It pulls info from, the public web, but also from internal company data, if that's connected.
Okay, so it's casting a wider net.
Hmm.
The articles use the term agentic. What does that mean practically?
It basically means Claude isn't just passively fetching results. It looks at what it finds, and then it autonomously decides what related topics or different angles it should investigate next. It's more proactive in the research process.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of exploring, following leads on its own.
Exactly. And a key part they mention is that it includes citations, so you can actually trace the information back to the source and, check it yourself.
That verification piece feels critical, especially for business use. Who gets this feature right now?
Currently, it's for subscribers on their Enterprise, Team, and Max plans, and geographically, it's in the US, Japan, and Brazil for now. But Anthropic did say they plan to expand it, add more content sources, make the research deeper, which kind of hints that maybe it'll connect to more than just Google Workspace eventually.
Speaking of which, the Google Workspace integration. That was the other big piece, right?
Yes, definitely. So Claude can now access your stuff in Gmail, Google Calendar, and Google Docs. It builds on the Docs connection they already had.
Right.
So think about asking it to, say, find the key points from a long email chain, or pull action items from your meetings, or find info buried in documents without you having to upload anything manually.
That sounds genuinely useful. More than just saving time, it feels like it could change how you interact with your own information, like a proper assistant.
It really could. And for the top-tier enterprise users, there's this cataloging feature.
Cataloging?
Yeah, it essentially indexes all the files across a company's Google Workspace. So Claude can find connections and information, even if it's scattered across tons of different files or hidden in really long docs. You don't need to point it to the right place.
Wow. Okay, so it's building a searchable knowledge base of your company's stuff, basically.
Pretty much. Using RA techniques, retrieval augmented generation, it finds the relevant bits first, then generates the answer based on that internal knowledge. They stress the enterprise-grade security, too, of course.
Which is obviously crucial.
And while, Gemini and ChatGPT have workspace integrations, too, this cataloging feature seems like a particularly powerful way to handle sprawling internal data. It's in beta now for paid users, needs admin activation for team and enterprise.
Got it. So Anthropic's really aiming at the business market. What about their pricing? I saw something about Claude Max.
Ah, yes. They introduced these Max plans with higher usage limits. There's a $100 a month tier for 5x the usage and a $200 tier for 20x.
How does that compare to OpenAI?
It's an interesting contrast. ChatGPT Pro is often seen as unlimited for a lower price, so it raises a question, right? Do users prefer paying more for a guaranteed higher level of usage or the feeling of unlimited access, even if performance might vary at peak times?
Yeah, that's a key decision for heavy users. Right. Okay, let's pivot to OpenAI then. They haven't been sitting still either, it seems, maybe responding a bit to Anthropic.
It certainly looks that way. Your sources mentioned OpenAI actually launched a similar deep research feature in ChatGPT a couple of months before Anthropic's announcement.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Their version can aggregate data from potentially hundreds of sources into detailed reports. It's powered by their O3 model, which is the engine doing the complex reasoning and synthesis.
So this idea of AI as a research assistant is definitely a trend. And OpenAI might be pushing it even further.
Seems like it. There are reports they're working on a more advanced tool, some described as PhD-level research that suggests, really high-level analysis. Plus maybe other specialized tools, perhaps for coding or other professions.
Specialization makes sense, like having different AI experts on call. Now, the other big OpenAI news was the GPT 4.1 family. That sounds like a major engine upgrade.
It really is. GPT 4.1 plus the mini and nano versions. They're available via API right now and show some pretty significant jumps. Coding ability, for instance, big improvement on the SWE benchmark compared to GPT 4.0.
SWE bench.
Oh, yeah.
That tests coding and debugging, right?
Exactly. And it's better at following complex instructions, too, and handling really long inputs up to 1 million tokens context window.
1 million tokens?
Yeah.
Massive. You could feed a huge documents or code bases.
Precisely. That long context is a huge leap. And crucially, the 4.1 family is also cheaper and faster. GPT 4.1 mini apparently matches or beats GPT 4.0 on intelligence, but with like half the latency and much lower cost.
Wow.
And the nano version is the fastest, cheapest one for quick tasks like classification or autocomplete.
So they're layering the options,
Mm.
better performance, different price points,
Mm.
but only via API for now.
Correct, for developers building on the platform. But OpenAI says the improvements will gradually roll into the main ChatGPT product for everyone. They're also phasing out the older GPT 4.5 preview API next year since 4.1 is better and cheaper.
Makes sense. And companies are already seeing benefits.
Yeah, the sources mention positive feedback from early testers, companies like Windsurf, Thomson Reuters, Carlyle seeing gains in coding, research, analyzing large texts.
Sounds promising for developers. Anything else on the OpenAI front? Security, user experience.
Yes, a couple of things. They've added an ID verification step for API access, presumably to tighten security and reduce misuse.
Yep.
And they updated ChatGPT so it can remember all your past conversations. The idea is to make it more of a continuous personal assistant.
I can see the appeal, but also maybe some drawbacks, like mixing contexts.
Exactly. One source pointed that out. If you work on lots of different projects, you might not want everything bleeding together. You might prefer separate conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's talk about this Model Context Protocol, MCP. Google joining OpenAI in adopting Anthropic's standard that feels significant.
It really does, especially given how competitive they usually are. MCP is basically trying to create a single standard way for AI systems, especially these agents we're talking about, to securely access data stores, developer tools, business apps, a universal connector.
So like a standard plug that lets any AI agent connect to different platforms without needing custom wiring each time.
That's a great analogy. It tackles a huge scaling problem. Right now, connecting agents to every single system is complex and time-consuming. MCP offers a streamlined way. Anthropic open-sourced it, and even provided pre-built servers for things like Google Drive, GitHub, Slack to make it easier to adopt.
And Google's Demis Hassabis was quite positive about it.
Very, called it a good protocol, becoming an open standard for the AI agentic era. And crucially, Google committed to supporting it for their Gemini models and SDK. That's a big endorsement.
And other companies are on board too.
Yeah, quite a few listed. Block, Apollo, Replit, Codium, SourceGraph. It points towards maybe a more open, interoperable future for enterprise AI tools. OpenAI had already announced MCP adoption for its SDK earlier, with plans for ChatGPT eventually.
That really could lower barriers.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know.
so those are the big platform updates. But the sources covered a lot more ground. What else stood out from the wider AI landscape?
Well, there was a real mix. You had the Shopify CEO basically mandating AI use for employees, showing how it's becoming a workplace expectation.
Right.
Then on the infrastructure side, reports of Microsoft maybe slowing down some data center builds, like a big one in Ohio. Could be strategic shifts, or maybe just grappling with the huge costs and energy needs.
Yeah, the energy consumption figures are pretty stark, potentially quadrupling by 2030.
It's a major concern. Then you have the downsides cropping up, like fake job applicants using AI to create bogus resumes, a new challenge for HR.
Ugh.
Also, lots of talk about soft skills, creativity, communication, curiosity becoming even more valuable as AI handles routine tasks.
That makes intuitive sense.
And, the usual ongoing stuff, the OpenAI versus Elon Musk legal drama, discussions about potential government uses of AI for things like tariffs or monitoring. A lot is happening all at once.
It really is. So, wrapping this up for our listeners, the big picture is, well, relentless innovation, right? Anthropic and OpenAI are pushing AI capabilities forward, embedding them deeper into how we work.
Absolutely. And this move towards common standards like MCP, even among rivals, is fascinating. It suggests a realization that some level of interoperability benefits everyone.
So the key takeaways seem to be AI research tools are getting much smarter and more autonomous, integration with productivity suites like Google Workspace is deepening, and we're seeing the first steps towards industry standards for AI agents.
That sums it up well. More capable, more integrated, and potentially more standardized.
So thinking about all this, the speed, the integration, the collaboration, even the challenges, what new questions does this raise for you personally? As you look ahead, what aspects of AI's impact on work, or just society generally, feel ripe for more exploration after this latest round of developments? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.